So, you've probably played a digital escape room, right? A fun little way to kill an hour. But what if I told you that this simple little puzzle is actually one of the most important design tools in all of gaming? Seriously, we're talking about a powerful X ray that can show you exactly what makes or breaks a huge, epic adventure game. So, today we're going to dig into why that Humble escape room is actually a prototype in disguise.
So, when you're clicking around in one of these rooms, what are you really looking at? I mean, yeah, there are locked doors and hidden keys, but let's go deeper. What's the fundamental DNA of an escape room? What's the core machinery here that's kept this super simple format so addictive for decades?
Okay, the core idea is pretty straightforward. A digital escape room is basically an entire adventure game, just, boiled down to its absolute essence. That huge, sprawling world? Gone. It's collapsed into just one room. That long, complicated list of actions? Simplified down to the basics. Look, take, use. And the goal? Well, it's ruthlessly simple. Just get that final door open.
And this, right here, reframes the entire genre. See, an escape room isn't a lesser version of an adventure game, it's a prototype. Think of it like an engineer's test rig. A small, controlled space built to see if the core mechanics actually work. Before you spend all that time and money building a massive world or writing a complex story, things that can really hide bad design, by the way, you test the engine first. And in a single room, there is absolutely nowhere for a flawed puzzle to hide.
So, next up, from Parser to Pointer, the origins of confinement. Okay, so how did we even get here? How did we end up with this powerful little prototype? Well, to really get it, we gotta go back in time way before the point-and-click games we all know. So way back when, adventure games were all text. The main challenge wasn't just solving the puzzle, it was trying to guess the exact words the game would understand. It was this constant parser guesswork. The friction was literally the language itself. The huge, game-changing shift came with point-and-click. Suddenly, actions were discoverable. You could see your options. The challenge wasn't about guessing verbs anymore, it was all about logic and putting the pieces together. And that brings us to the Flash era, back in the early 2000s. This is where the format really, truly found its footing. You had pioneers like Modas in 2001, which was a big deal, because it showed you could have a scalable system with an inventory that actually remembered your stuff. But the real explosion, that happened in 2004 with Crimson Room. It totally cemented the formula we all recognize, that fixed camera view where you're just hunting the screen for those little interactive hotspots. But this wasn't just some creative choice. It was actually super pragmatic. Flash games were really easy to share, but the system rewarded small, compact experiences. So locking the whole game in one room, it was cheap and it was efficient. It literally turned the room into a workshop bench where you could pick up the same tools, test them, recombine them, and see if they worked. It was just the perfect little box for trying out puzzle ideas really, really fast. Yeah, but this era had a major, major downside. It basically normalized a kind of fake difficulty. What am I talking about? Well, designers could just make the clickable hotspots ridiculously tiny. And that's not a real puzzle, right? The source material actually calls this input friction. You're not solving a logic problem, you're just pixel hunting. It keeps you busy for sure, but it's not real, genuine engagement. All right, let's get into the four core systems, the machinery of the prototype. So if the escape room is a prototype, what's it, testing? Turns out it's a diagnostic tool for four core systems, the very engine that makes any good adventure game run. So you can basically audit any escape room, or any adventure game really, by looking at these four connected systems. Number 1, the interaction model. 2, the object state model. 3, the gating model. And 4, the feedback model. It's all about how you interact, what the objects do, what's blocking you, and how the game lets you know what's going on. Okay, let's break down those first two. First, the interaction model. This is all about one simple question. Is the player actually thinking logically, or are they just mindlessly trying to use every item on every other item? That is the line between a satisfying puzzle and just frustrating brute force. Then you've got the object state model. Your inventory shouldn't just be a junk drawer. It should be the game's way of whispering in your ear, hey, pay attention to these things. It's a tool to help you focus. All right, the other half of the machine, gating and feedback. A gate? Think of a locked door. It should feel like a logical challenge, not just some random wall. You should be able to look at it and cook up a little theory. And when you finally crack it, the feedback model has to be crystal clear. I mean, a key turning in a lock that you can't even see, that's not a puzzle. That's just a broken conversation between you and the game.
Okay, moving on to mapping the puzzle, the dependency graph. So all four of these systems are built on top of something else, an invisible architecture that structures the whole experience. It's like a hidden map. And trust me, understanding this map is the key to designing good puzzles. It's called a puzzle dependency graph. Now, this isn't a map of the physical room, it's a map of the logic. It answers that one crucial question: what depends on what? You need key A to open box B to get tool C. This graph just lays out that whole flow for the designer so they can see it all at once. And this is why the escape room is such an amazing diagnostic tool. In one single room, that entire dependency graph is just laid bare. It's completely exposed. A designer can't hide a logical flaw. There are no side quests, no long journeys to distract you from a broken puzzle chain. The logic either works or it doesn't. It's that simple. And this kind of transparency instantly shows you all the common design flaws. You can spot cycles. Those are logic loops that can literally trap a player forever. No fun. You can see overlinearity, which is just a boring straight line where you have no choices and you're just waiting for the next thing to happen. And you can also spot excessive parallelism. That's when way too many puzzles are open at once and you just feel completely overwhelmed. So let's talk about the mobile inflection, from clicks to touch. Of course, the genre didn't just stay in the Flash era forever. The rise of mobile gaming, well, that kicked off the next big change. A really pivotal moment was in 2012 with the release of The Room. This game completely changed how you interacted with everything. Instead of just clicking on hotspots, touchscreens meant you could directly manipulate things. You could slide panels, turn dials, flip switches. The puzzle wasn't about finding a hidden pixel anymore. It was about figuring out a physical mechanism. But the history of this genre is so tied to its technology. And this one's a big one. December 31st, 2020. That was the day Adobe Flash Player was officially gone. And in an instant, a massive chunk of the genre's history just became unplayable, at least through normal means. And that's exactly why digital preservation efforts are so incredibly vital. You've got projects like Flashpoint and Ruffle that are working to keep these foundational games alive and accessible. I mean, without them, our whole understanding of how this genre grew would be incomplete. It'd be shaped only by the games that just happened to survive by chance. Okay, our final section, a test of logic. Why the prototype indoors? So, after all these big technological shifts, from text to Flash to mobile, what's the ultimate lasting value of this super simple format? When it comes right down to it, the escape room prototype endures for one big reason. It makes design accountable. It forces a creator to face the absolute bedrock of their game's logic. Does it reward thinking? Is the feedback clear? Does the progression actually make sense? In a single room, there are just no frills. There's nowhere to hide. And there's this fantastic quote from the source material that just sums it all up perfectly. When the room fails, scale merely spreads the failure across a larger map. Think about that. If you can't build one compelling, logical room, there's no way you can build a compelling world. But if you get that prototype right, then you've got a solid foundation for anything you want to build on top of it. So it really makes you think, doesn't it? If the humble escape room is actually this powerful testbed for giant adventure games, it begs the question, what other simple genres are we totally underestimating? What other basic games out there are secretly powerful prototypes, just hiding these deep, complex design principles right out in the open?